So we got the movie Mr. Malcolm's List as a romantic, dramatic, adult, heavy dialogue movie set in a point of time in 1818 in England. So after getting rejected from Mr. Malcolm, Julia, played by Zoe Ashton, I'm sorry if I get any of these names wrong, so I do apologize, thinks that she has been humiliated and she says, "Oh, this is absurd. He can't do this to my reputation." And gets her cousin Selena to infiltrate him to get him to fall in love with her, so then she could do the same thing to him so he can feel the same way after being rejected and embarrassed and ruin his reputation. So Julia's character, first and foremost, she's outspoken. She is not scared of a challenge. So she's one of those girls that stands up to the guys. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm saying that that's good that she does. Like, she stands up for them. She basically challenges them, which is good. That's how I like her point of view. She's tough-willed and strong character. Mr. Malcolm, however, is played by Soap Dirarusi. Like I said, I'm sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, which has deliciously handsome good looks and is incredible intelligent conversation and is wealthy but is looking for a bride. So his movie name, Mr. Malcolm's List, we found out later that he has a list of qualifications that is kind of absurd, like the girl says, that these brides need to meet in order to fit his standards. Now, when I said in my preview, I also said that it was not as all it seems to be, so there is a deeper behind that meaning of surface, but I'm not going to ruin that to you because that'll be spoilers. However, she has a cousin, so Julia has a cousin with Malcolm that they go to parties to her, and he's a guy, so he's a cousin. The cousin is Lord Cassidy, and he's played by Oliver Jackson Conan. So they go to parties together, they drink, they hang out, they go to social clubs. So that is where they found out about the list, because the cousin's like, guy's like, "Oh, like, I can't believe it, like, you have this, like, this is kind of weird," like, and then he tells Julia because they're cousins and they're just friends. So I'm just like, so that's how they find out about his list. And so it shows inferiority to Julia, who got rejected in the first place. That includes Selena, which is her cousin, to have a list so he can fall in love with her, and you get the deal. So after being humiliated, best friend Selena, who is played by Frieda Pinto, which is gorgeous and beautiful, by the way, has a dynamic relationship, friendship with Mr. Malcolm to try to get him to fall in love with her in a series of dates and friends and extravagance and conversation. Selena is a girl from the countryside, so she does want to marry for love, and she doesn't know until if she has that possibility until she meets Mr. Malcolm. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I said in the beginning, this is the dialogue-heavy driven film, so I feel like a lot of the younger audiences that watches my movies, thank you, by the way. I don't know if this movie would hold your interest if everything that we just talked about does not seem right for you. Now, for me, I love romance, and I'm always like down for it. I mean, so it's just me. But I don't feel like a lot of people, especially the younger generation, unless you like these type of films, but there's no action involved, so it's very dramatic dialogue, comedy, heavy dialogue. So it's like just a series of scenes of them trying to be together. Things get twisted with another handsome fellow that comes into the mix, which is Captain Henry, played by Theo James. Theo James, yes, the guy from Divergent Allegiance. So when I saw him, I was like, whoa, that is him. So I was like, that was pretty cool. So now we get a series of couples and scenes to see if they end up together and if they have chemistry. So they go on full dates, they go on multiple dates. It's different people with different dynamics. So sometimes it's a whole group of them, which I do like. I'm like, ooh, it feels like the reality TV show Couples in Paradise, but just in a smaller scale. Depends on which one's mismatched, because there's like a love square now, but secretly there's more because there's more characters into the mix, which I'm not gonna ruin it for you. I do love the speaking, the manner of speaking when they're like, "Oh, that's absurd," the way they talk. I don't really like old school like that, like back in the day, but I love this because it's first and foremost romance. Some of the colors are bright and vivid and beautiful, especially the clothing that they wear. I mean, yeah, some scenes are dark, but I mean, it's okay to me because they still make the movie. The cinematography feels amazing. Like, I do commend the costume artist and the hair artist for this, because it's like you don't really see that unless like you're searching for it. So it feels like castles, witches, queens. It almost feels like the same era as Pride and Prejudice, that movie with Keira Knightley. It almost feels like in that era, but this is a little bit different. Just thought it was nice to see it in a different era, because yeah, romance movies, I mean, we got the 50 Shades, I mean, come on, you see the Riverdale or like the Nerve. So I'm always open to this interpretation with like old stuff. I don't want to say old stuff, just a different point in time in the new era. This movie really banks and centers on the relationship between the four casts of characters. So we got Julia, Mr. Malcolm, Lord Cassidy, and Captain Henry, as well as Selena. So it's basically most of the characters. Sometimes they take strolls in the park, but that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit slow. It's definitely slow. It's not like fast. Like the pacing of this movie, they go on series of dates, but it's not like fast dates. They're just walking and talking, and that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the cinematography. I'm like, oh, witches, queens, castles, like the horses. Like, yeah, some of it, most of it's landscape, but not all the time. Sometimes like they're in broad, beautiful vistas. Like if you ever played Assassin's Creed, like the old one. So I thought that was cool. Honestly, yes, this is a classic love story where two people try to fall in love. Especially it's kind of like after, like it almost starts as deception, but then once you really get into it, like she actually starts falling in love with him. And I'm not gonna say if she actually really does like fall with him or actually ends up with him. And then there's a climax where something happens, plot thickens. After the climax, there's a waiting period to see if they get back together. So yes, I'm not gonna be honest with you, it is like your typical love story, but there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you want, which to me that is what I want. Of course, this is a little bit different because the set, 1818 London, the fashion, and the people that are involved in this, especially Theo James. I mean, if you don't like that, I don't know how much this movie is going to hold you over, but to me, I do like it because I used to be a relationship therapist. So to me, I love love. To be honest with you, if you're into romantic, heavy dialogue centric movies with romantic comedies, then yeah. But honestly, with me being loving romance and all this set in time, I'm gonna give this a solid B because I did like this movie. I probably will go watch it again because it's romance. If you guys don't know, I used to want to be a relationship therapist before YouTube. So, but honestly, guys, if you made it this far, I appreciate you so much. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss a video. And stick around till next week. Take care.